Hi, my name is Rebecca Flemming, and I am here today to talk to you a little bit about my military experience. So, I'm going to start with why I joined the military. I actually grew up next to an Air Force base, and I was there all the time on the base, and I saw a lot of airmen and airwomen in their BDUs all the time. This one particular day, I was 12 years old, and I was on the base, and I was going into the PX, and a Marine opened the door for me. He said, "After you, ma'am." And I was blown away. He had on full dress blues, and I was just blown away. I was like, "What is this? I want one, and I want to be one." And that just stuck in my head. This Marine just blew me away. And so years later, when I was graduating from high school, it became apparent that I was struggling with math and science, and I didn't want to go to college. And so I thought, well, what am I going to do with myself? And so I said, well, I'll join the military. And I was like, oh, the Marine, that's what I want. I want to be a Marine. And so I tried to join the Marine Corps. When I first went to the Marine Corps, I was overweight. And so I was in the delayed entry program for about a year, just working out with the recruiters and doing everything that I could to lose weight until finally I went to boot camp. And I did graduate from boot camp. In fact, I graduated as an honor grad. I was the highest rifle shooter for my platoon. And so I not only graduated fat, but I graduated with honors. So it can be done. So after boot camp, I then went to Meridian, Mississippi, where I learned how to be an operations clerk for aircraft units. And I was stationed at El Toro. You might remember El Toro. El Toro is the big movie with Will Smith where he's on the fighter jet and he's saving the world, Independence Day, and he goes and he rescues his girlfriend and they're all at El Toro. Well, that's my base. That's where I was. And so what I did is I worked for VMGR 352, the Raiders. We are a aircraft unit, one of the largest aircraft. It's called a KC-130, and it is a big aircraft, probably the biggest aircraft in the Marine Corps. And so we would drop off supplies, do in-flight refueling, all of these great procedures. Well, my job was to ensure that the crew was qualified to fly. So we processed flight orders, flight pay, qualifications to fly. We tracked flight hours, flight activities, different things that this crew did. Everything that they did to be in this aircraft, we tracked it. And the unique thing about that is this is early 90s. We did that by hand. We did everything by hand. We processed orders. We used books. We used whiteout. You name it, we did everything by hand. I can still remember being a young PFC and having a big floppy disk in an ice bucket that I had to drive across the base to the other units to make sure that we had orders and that we were clear about flights that were going out the next day. So we did all of that work by hand. Two of the biggest things I'd probably say about my military experience, well, actually three. The first one is that I was able to travel to 13 different countries. So I did that in the back of that C-130. The second thing is that I was a part of an honor ceremony. President Nixon had passed in 1994, and our base did a big ceremony for his passing, and I was one of the Marines selected to escort his family members. So I was one of the women Marines, full dress blues in 90-degree weather in California, walking around and escorting the president's family. So that was a really huge honor for me. And then the third thing that I did, which was really unique, I was in Mombasa, Kenya. You may remember the movie Black Hawk Down, where there was a helicopter that had went down, and I believe it was Air Force, and they were surrounded by African tribes and they were being attacked. Well, my unit was one of the units that was close by. And so we sent in folks to go and help those guys, help save those guys and get them up out of there. Now, when I say we, I don't necessarily mean me because at the time women weren't allowed to do a lot of that stuff. But I was able to support with the medical processes and the procedures. I was recognized with several military awards for that event in my military career. Um, After service, I came back here to Detroit, and I came back with two kids, two sons, and I was actually homeless. I was a homeless student at Wayne State University here in Detroit. So I was a mom, a veteran, a student, and I was homeless. And I was seeking all type of resources. I was asking for housing and food and transportation and all of these things. And I can remember being turned away from several programs. At one point, I was talking to a social worker and I told her, by the way, I'm also a veteran. And she said, so what do I do with that information? Like, so what? And that should not happen. Not to me and not to any veteran. And so as my life went on, one of the things that I did was I began to collect information. And so I've been collecting information so that no veteran has that conversation. So I offer an online course through my business, Veterans Champion Training. And what we do is we teach anybody. You don't have to be a veteran. We teach anybody. If you want to help veterans, we teach you how to help veterans get access to shoes and housing and transportation and food and clothes and how to access the VA and how to start a business. I mean, we do it all in this online course. So that's part of my life's work. I've worked probably the last 15 years after the Marine Corps as a manager of different programs. Primarily employment services. And so we're removing barriers to employment. And that's how I got access to all of these great programs that are in my online course. And so that's kind of what I've been doing since the Marine Corps. And now when I say I've been doing it, kind of doing it, kind of not doing it, right? So I am a disabled veteran, and some of my disabilities are mental. And so I have a lot of problems where I have good days and I have bad days. And so sometimes I'm functioning and working my business really well, and then other times I just mentally checked out. I'm not there. And so I even have programs and resources for veterans like me in my online course to teach you how to help folks like me deal with those processes and deal with those caveats that come from serving our country. So make sure you check out Veterans Champion Training. It's an online course. Right now, I'm asking folks to pay for it. However, I am really passionate about it, and I think that I'm going to move towards just having the course be for free. That's how passionate I am about making sure that people understand and know where to connect veterans with these programs and resources. So look for that course to be free. Hopefully, if I get out of this rut of depression, hopefully this year I'll be able to flip it from a paid course to a free course. One of the other things that I've been doing is starting the process to become a cadre or a drill instructor, I guess you'd call it, for a program called Civil Air Patrol. And if you're not familiar with Civil Air Patrol, you gotta Google it because it is really awesome. It's for anybody. You don't have to be military, young, old, any age. If you want to serve, Civil Air Patrol is where you can go. So if you can't be a Marine like me, you don't want to go to the Army, Civil Air Patrol is where you need to go. What they do is we teach cadets, young individuals, all about the Air Force and give them kind of a bird's eye view, kind of like an ROTC, but bigger. It's bigger than ROTC because they do all kinds of national level events. And so I'm going to join that as a senior member / cadre and give back some of the wealth that I've been blessed with, some of the knowledge and information that I'm able to share. And so that's kind of what my future looks like. Civil Air Patrol is one of those things. Last piece, because of my PTSD, I don't work. And so I've been processing becoming an archer. So I'm doing a lot of archery as well. So I'm shooting arrows, shooting bow, all of it, right? I'm shooting, right? So, because that's what I do, right? I'm a Marine shooter, right? But I'm trying not to shoot guns anymore. I want to shoot arrows. And it's really, really relaxing. It's really, really therapeutic. And I really, really appreciate the ability to learn and to do that. The last piece is coffee. So Shero, that's one of the partners that I'm working with. Coffee is definitely where it's at. And so I encourage you, if you haven't already, check out Shero and get you some coffee because that's the other thing that really helps me quite a bit. So that's kind of a bird's eye view of me and my military experience. And I hope you found some of it joyful and some of it inspirational, and if nothing else, informational. So thank you so much. Bye.